Joining us today is Jim Morrissey, Michigan State linebacker from 1981 through 84, team captain, All Big Ten, Super Bowl winner with the 1985 Chicago Bears, and member of the Super Bowl Shuffle. Jim's football career had to start somewhere. So, Jim, when did you first start playing football, and did you play any other sports growing up?
Yeah, I started playing football in 7th grade. As first organized football I played was 7th grade school team. I also played basketball and baseball growing up.
Did you have a favorite football player when you were growing up?
Yeah, I was a big Lions fan growing up in Flint. And the two guys that I followed probably closer than anybody else was Greg Landry and Charlie Sanders.
When did you first start getting recruited for football? What was that whole process like for you? And did you have a few schools that you were interested in?
You know, the recruiting process back then was very short. At least it was short for me, but not like it is today, where the kids are being contacted basically after their sophomore years. I think what I remember of it is that you played your senior year, and then you made a couple visits, 2 or 3 visits after that, and then by end January you were making your decision. So I was recruited by Michigan State, but was not offered a scholarship early on in the process. Obviously, late in the process, Michigan State offered me a scholarship. Central Michigan and Western Michigan offered, but that was about it. I was basically, and I don't know if I told schools. I think I did, but I told them I wanted to stay in the state of Michigan. So I think that's why Central, Western, Michigan State, and Michigan were my top choices. But obviously it worked out for the best. Michigan State came in late with an offer, and I jumped on it right away. So that was a recruiting process that I remember.
Once you got to Michigan State, were there any players that helped you adjust to the college football level? Any older players take you under their wing?
I would say George Cooper. When I first came in, I was a linebacker, but then after 2 or 3 weeks after I was in training camp, they moved me to tight end. And at that point, Al Kimicek, who was a senior as well, George Cooper on defense, Al Kimicek on offense, they basically helped me throughout the freshman year, the process of playing Big Ten football. So, yeah, those two guys I would single out as guys that really helped me through the process.
Talking with Jim Morrissey, Michigan State football player from 1981 through 84, and Jim, you came to MSU as a linebacker but switched to tight end. When did you switch back to linebacker?
That spring. So I played freshman year as a tight end, and then the actually it was winter conditioning. They moved me back to linebacker, getting ready for spring practice.
When you arrived at Michigan State, what were your expectations for yourself and for the team?
Well, the team, I think they were coming off the Big Ten championship in 1979. I came on board in 1981, so they did have a winning experience, coming from 79. 1980, I think they were close to 500, a little bit above 500. 1981, again, we were close to 500, but then we kind of went last year from Muddy Waters, we were 2-9, so that was a challenging season. But we were always competitive, and what I thought, that Michigan State at that time was a very competitive football team with some great talent, great players. So it was, my expectations were to, like any team that I started with, I wanted to come in and show them that I could help contribute to the team, and at any position or at any capacity. Obviously, I played tight end my freshman year, but I played all the special teams. So I tried to help out on special teams and do as much as I can to help the team win.
Jim, I love asking this question. Did you have a welcome to college football moment during your time at Michigan State, whether it was a play or in practice or in a game, when you realized this was not high school football anymore?
Let's see. As a freshman, I mean, it was definitely a step up. It was a little bit faster than high school, a little bit, bigger, faster players. Freshman year, I really can't single out one play. I just think the overall challenge of, fitting in and learning the system and trying to do the best you possibly can to help the team. I think that's what I remember most about anything is just as new experience, new teammates, just everything. The overall experience as being a freshman on a Big Ten football team was enough.
1982 was your sophomore season at Michigan State. Unfortunately, the team was 2-9, but 7 of those 9 losses were by single digits. Did you feel that the team was much better than what the record said on paper?
Yeah, that was a tough team. We had some great players on that team. We had a great coach. Joe Pendry was our defense. No, I take that back. Joe Pendry was my freshman coach. He left after that freshman year. So if I can say one thing of I think not reason why, but if you look back, if we did have Joe Pendry as an offensive coordinator, we probably wouldn't have lost all those 7 games. Maybe we win 4 or 5 of those games because of how good of a coach he was. So that was a big loss for us. We lost him to start the season my sophomore year, and that was in my opinion, that was a huge loss for us.
Talking with Jim Morrissey, Michigan State linebacker from 1981 through 84. Now, Jim, Michigan State's biggest rivals are Michigan and Notre Dame. So what were those games like? What was your first taste of those rivalries?
I think they're definitely on your schedule, that's for sure. You definitely look forward to playing those games, like every other game. But yeah, the Notre Dame, Michigan, those 2 teams or those 2 games are always a little bit more hyped up, which is great for college football, great for Michigan State, Notre Dame. So it's a great atmosphere. I think the fans really enjoy it as well. But yeah, those are some good games. Actually, that was my first game I ever started was against Notre Dame my sophomore year. So that one has a special place in my heart. So that was a great game. We lost again. Yeah, we lost that one 11-3. So there's one of those single-digit losses that we had in that year. We lost 11-3. They scored 3 field goals and a safety on us, and we just mustered up a field goal. So yeah, it was a very good defensive team that I played with that year.
2 of the biggest wins for Michigan State during your time there, Jim, was Notre Dame in 1983, 28-23, and Michigan in 1984, 19-7. Both were road games. What do you remember about those games? It must have been very satisfying beating your rivals, right?
Well, it's always good beating a team at their home field. So those 2 games really stick out for my junior and senior years. But to go into Notre Dame and beat them, that was just a great game by us. Great game plan. Darryl Turner, I think, caught like an 80-yard touchdown pass. I think we ran a long kickoff return back. Same thing with Michigan the next year. Bobby Morris ran back the nice punt return. And we played a great defensive game that year. Jim Harbaugh, who was the Michigan coach, broke his arm, so that definitely helped with just allowing them to score 7 points. So those 2 games, my final 2 years with George Perlis, those basically stick out as some great games that we won on the road.
Jim, during your senior season, Michigan State is playing Iowa on the road, and the Hawkeyes had just scored a touchdown with 44 seconds left. MSU was winning 17-16, and Iowa decided to go for 2 points. Their quarterback, Chuck Long, tries to score, but you stuff him right at the goal line. Do you remember that play? Can you take me through it?
Oh, I can still see it in my eyes. If you think about one play in my 4 years at Michigan State, I would have to bring that play up. And believe it or not, it was they ran the option with Chuck Long going to my left, and I remember watching that play in the film that week. And when I saw their fullback go in motion, I knew there was going to be that play, and I kind of moved to my left a little bit, and my defensive end on that play is his only responsibility is to not let that offensive tackle out on me, who I was the middle linebacker, and he kind of shot the gap. So the offensive tackle had a clear shot on me. So I kind of had to step back and kind of get around and go in the end zone a little bit. So then when I saw Chuck Long hold the ball and go in, and Shane Bowler and myself kind of torpedoed ourselves at the same time at Chuck Long, and I know I saw some type of clip on the TV show about 3 months ago, and they still believe, or at least when that show was made, that they believe that they scored that touchdown, or that 2-point conversion. But I know that referee made an excellent call, because Chuck Long's upper body was across the goal line, but because we torpedoed in there, either Shane or myself hit that football, and it fell down to his midsection, and the ball was not over the goal line, but Chuck Long's upper body was, but up to his chest and above was over, but the ball was not over. That was a great call by that referee, and that was a huge game for us. That was just a very good, again, winning at Iowa was a great win.
That was a huge goal line stand to win the game. That tackle summed up your senior season because you finished with 137 tackles that year, and that's pretty high up there on the all-time list at MSU. So what was your mentality? Why did you always have a nose for the ball that season?
Well, you have to think that you're going to be the one to make the tackle every single play. That's how I looked at it. No matter if I was on special teams or I was on the defense, I assumed that I was going to make the tackle. I just felt that way, and that was how I geared up for every play, was that I was going to be the one to make the tackle. But I had I was in a position to make tackles. It was a stunt 4-3. I played in that system. Shane Bulla, Chuck Bulla, Percy Snow. There's a lot of great linebackers that played in that system. And basically that system is allowed and should have the middle linebacker make the tackles because of the stunt 4-3 in front and the defensive ends. Their responsibility was to keep blockers off the middle linebacker. And I had some great defensive linemen. I had some great outside linebackers that helped me and helped the team basically work that concept or work that process to allow me to make tackles from sideline to sideline.
Talking with Jim Morrissey, Michigan State linebacker from 1981 through 84, and Jim, you were named team captain and all Big Ten during your senior season. What do those accolades mean to you?
Team captain means everything to me. I mean, that's people strive for that. I would hope. You always want to be a good teammate. You always want to be a good leader. When those things fall into place and they elect you as a captain, it was a great honor. A great honor that I've always believed that probably one of my top honors to be selected as a captain at Michigan State. All Big Ten, again, that was a great honor, but it was more of a team honor. Because of the great defensive tackles and defensive ends that I had playing in front of me.
During your senior season, Michigan State makes it to the Cherry Bowl. Was that satisfying that during your career the team improved and reached a bowl game in your final season at Michigan State?
It was. Based on my first 2 years, we kind of struggled a little bit, and my sophomore year we struggled quite a bit to only win 2 games, and then little by little as George Perlis, 1983, his first year, we kind of won more games than the year before. Than my senior year, we win more games than the year before. So it was a building process that I think 2 or 3 years later they won the Rose Bowl and won, I think, 10 games. So it was definitely a satisfaction that that we put Michigan State back in the bowl game.
Is preparation any different for a bowl game? Do you remember it being any more intense?
No, I don't think it was. It was the same. Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator, so he really had a tight ship, and he did a great job on being the defensive coordinator. But he was, as he is now, he was no nonsense. He was, you go out to work and you get the most out of your allowed time to practice, and the focus of trying to win the game, and we got a lot of work done.
So what do you remember about the Cherry Bowl against Army? The game was very low scoring. I believe the final score of that game was Army 10, Michigan State 6.
Yeah. Again, we were challenged, but that was the number 1 rushing team in the nation that year. Army had a great rushing attack. We held them to the lowest rushing total all year, but they scored enough points to win. So we shouldn't have let them we shouldn't have given them 10 points. But I know Ralph Moshienko made a 61-yard field goal, but then it was called back. So we were trying to put points on, but it just didn't happen that game.
Do you have a favorite memory during your time at Michigan State that we haven't discussed? Whether it was a game or a play or something off the field that you look back on fondly?
Well, you did mention some good ones. I will say that. The Notre Dame game at Notre Dame, we came back from Notre Dame when we won in '83, and it was a great team win, team celebration. So I do remember that game. as I just look back on all those games and the experiences that I had and the friendships I still have and the coaches that I still know, and it was just a great experience. The overall experience was great.
Talking with Jim Morrissey, Michigan State linebacker from 1981 through 84. And Jim, you were drafted in the 11th round of the 1985 NFL Draft to the Chicago Bears. What was that whole experience of being drafted like for you? Was it a dream come true?
It was a dream come true. It was something that I really didn't think about until maybe my end of my junior year, going into my senior year, and defensive line coach Steve Furness, who was on Michigan State's coaching staff at that point, said, you better get ready, you better get ready. And at that point, that was the first time that I really thought, well, maybe I do have a chance. Maybe I do have a shot at playing professional football. So, but in regards to getting ready, I basically went about my business of trying to help Michigan State win, and then based on my production on the field, if I was going to get an opportunity, then I was going to try my best and try and make the team. But yeah, to be drafted was a dream come true, and then just an opportunity to make the football team was a dream come true, and be associated with the Chicago Bears and the likes of Walter Payton, Jim McMahon, Richard Dent, Jimbo Covert. There's some great players, great personalities from those Bears teams.
Jim, you went from being on a team that struggled to win to playing on the 1985 Chicago Bears, who went on to win the Super Bowl your rookie season, and who some say was the greatest NFL team. And especially that defense. That defense is always so heralded. What was that turnaround like for you?
Well, it was a great year. I mean, obviously, 1985, and when you mentioned the Chicago Bears, that was, probably the Bears' best team ever, but maybe top five, or some people do say it is the best team ever, but I don't know with regards to that. But just the idea that I was on that team and I was playing special teams and I was basically inside the ropes, if you want to say, and kind of being with those personalities and being with those players, it was a dream come true. And growing up in Flint and knowing that Chicago was a rival of the Lions, it was fun. It was fun to take part in it.
Well, I have a confession. I just got done watching the Super Bowl Shuffle. You had some pretty awesome dance moves back in the day. Who thought of doing that, and did you have fun doing it?
I did have fun. Again, I was a rookie that year. I was by myself, so I didn't have anything to do, and they asked anybody if they wanted to come down and take part in it, then show up at this place. And we filmed, and we made the video the whole day, and just had fun. But the idea of the dancing moves was Mike Singletary's, and I blame him for all the embarrassment I've had over the last 30 years or whatever it's been, 28 years. But it was his idea to kind of put some type of dance moves together that we all took part in. But that it was a great idea. It was a lot of fun, and thank goodness we won the Super Bowl. That's for sure.
Well, the Bears did win the Super Bowl that season. You guys beat the New England Patriots 46-10. What was that whole experience like for you, playing in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl? That experience had to be pretty special for you.
Well, just, again, the overall experience, knowing that, I grew up my whole life watching Super Bowls, watching them every year, dreaming of becoming a National Football League player, and then, bam, my first year, I'm in the Super Bowl. It took Walter Payton, I think, 12 years to get there. So it was a dream come true, and, we're preparing 2 weeks for the Super Bowl, and, I'm pinching myself every day. So it was a great experience. Something I'll never forget, obviously, and a great team with great coaches, and just everything came together.
Well, that's the story of Jim Morrissey, Michigan State linebacker from 1981 through 84, team captain, All Big Ten, Super Bowl winner with the 1985 Chicago Bears, and member of the Super Bowl Shuffle. Thanks, Jim, for taking time out of your day to share your memories with us.
Okay, take care.